channel, then my name is Amina. I go by Mimi. I don't know how to introduce anything that I'm doing right now. Just get ready. Just get ready. That's all I can say is get ready. So, I need like a white screen. Hold on 1 second. Okay. So basically, this reading is going to be protects core strengths, and yeah, I can feel people trying to throw my equilibrium off, or energy's trying to throw my equilibrium off. Hi, welcome. In my last reading, I talked about like rebuking their energy, protecting, and now we're just going to tap into ascending and all that. Oh shoot. Oh my gosh, Empress in reverse. So like I knew it. Someone, okay. So just to be clear, that delusional ass energy is so annoying because it's like everything that they are not, they believe that they are, and everything that they think that I am is what they are. And that's really it. And everything that they see me as isn't good. Okay. And so it's like so annoying. So one of the things is that, like, let's say antichrist energy, right? They see me as an antichrist energy, but then they themselves are the antichrist energy, but then they're trying to project that onto me. The fool in reverse, they're ignorant, they're unstable, they're whatever. It's all in the cards, right? And they're in the reverse. And they keep on projecting this energy at me, and it's going back to sender right now. It's so irritating. I can't begin to explain how irritating it is, because it's like they're always trying to, like, you know what? Let's just tap into these cards right here. So we're just gonna clear this out really quickly. Okay, we're gonna clear out why it is that they're doing this. And so like a rope holder persona, cloak holder persona. So they want to act like a holder. They want to act like they're holding some sort of share within me or myself, as if I am some sort of share to them, right? So keeps others ties to past mistakes or debts, keeps others covered with hidden for leverage. So they're looking for leverage to throw off equilibrium. So let's look up the word leverage. Okay, collective. So leverage is lever to raise or lift, or, simple machine or lifting heavy objects. Okay, so something to maximum advantage, meaning using something to maximum advantage, applying influence, power, or resource to achieve a goal. The power to exert influence or achieve an effect, just as a lever multiplies physical force. So exert power to exert influence. So they feel like they have the ability to abuse power to exert some sort of influence, and now all of it is being stripped away from them. Everything that they ever believed gave them power, right, to exert influence, because there's no power that would willingly exert influence against itself or God. Okay, there's no power, there's no such thing. Okay, there are a powers. Okay, so they're a demonic influence, right? So they're like some sort of demonic influence that think that they have some sort of holding on power. Okay, so it's some sort of like demonic entity that believes it has power over influence, right? And so that's another thing. It's like privilege. Okay, so it's something that believes as if that it is the supplier of privilege. Okay, that's what it is. So it's going back to center. So somebody out here, something believes that it has the power to provide privilege. Okay, so they believe that they have power over privileges. They believe that they have influence over privileges. They think that it is for them to give and take privileges whenever that they think that they feel, or whatever it is. Okay, so prostitutes. Okay, so abuse of reproductive organs for cash, prices, reproductive systems. Okay, so that's where they think that they have privilege. They think they have privilege over reproductive systems in general. Okay, Signal sower persona. Okay, plant small pieces of information to grow into rumors or panic. That's why people were panicking. And witch. So it's a prostitute witch. So attempting to decategorize God's creation, falsely shepherding people, overseeing. Okay, so I'm gonna look up all of these, like, honestly, so that I can show you. So here's a forward speech from the last. So they're a witch, and now they're getting caught third body evil as a prostitute. Okay, so we're gonna look this up. Okay, so we're gonna start with the witch energy. So Exodus 22:18. Okay, so thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Okay, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. Okay, so basically, you don't have to suffer as a witch so that you can survive or live. Okay, basically is what God is saying. Okay, so you don't have to be a witch so you can survive or live through a situation. Okay, you don't have to decategorize God's creations, right? You don't have to falsely shepherd people or oversee anything to live. Okay, you don't have to falsely oversee or shepherd people to live. Basically, that's not something you have to do. That's a grace, that's a promise from God. So they are trying to act like their survival relies on that, but they're losing their survival. So that's another thing. Pressure to survive. They're failing to survive a situation. Okay, that's what it is. Deuteronomy 18. Okay, they're failing to survive a situation. Okay, so let no one be found amongst you who sacrifices their son or daughter in the fire, who practices divination or sorcery, interprets omens, engages in witchcraft, or casts spells, or who is a medium or spiritist who consults with the dead. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord. Because of these same detestable practices, the Lord your God will drive out those nations before you. So the nations will be like what'd you call it, will be driven out before they would be driven out. So they will be left isolated, alone, without a nation to protect them, basically. So that's one. And so yeah, my gosh, they practice divination, sorcery, interpret. So they try to interpret omens. That's another thing. Omens are already interpreted. That's why they're omens. Okay. So that's another thing. Women, omens, right? Omens, right? So engages in witchcraft. So let's see what an omen is. So instead of interpreting an omen, so I'll just do Eddie of omen, right? What is an omen, right? We're not interpreting it. We're literally seeing what it is, right? So a sign, token, or foreboding, okay? So sign, portent, prophecy. So an omen is a perceived sign or warning of a future event. So you don't have to interpret an omen. All you have to do is perceive it, right? So we're perceiving the omen and that's it. So this is, they try to cause ill perception or sicken the perception, right? They want to sicken perceptions, right? That's what it is. They want to pervert. They are trying to pervert situations, and they're doing so in order to prostitute. Okay, so 2 of Chronicles. (33:6). Okay, so 2 of Chronicles 33:6. He sacrificed his children in the fire in the valley of Ben Hinnom, practiced divination and witchcraft, sought omens, and consulted mediums and spiritists. He did much evil in the eyes of the Lord, arousing his anger. Okay, so that's another thing. So like, not only, so it's like the omen didn't come to them, but they try to go and seek the omen to go and try and bring it to the wrong area. So they try to control the omens, right? They try to control omens. That's another thing. Okay, so Nahum 3:4. They try to control fate. Okay, Nahum 3:4. Because of the multitude of whoredoms, you see what I'm saying, and the well-favored harlot. See, harlot, see what I'm saying? The mistress of witchcrafts. You see what I'm saying now? that selleth natures through her whoredoms and families through her witchcrafts, right? So that's, there you go. Okay. So let's continue. So Galatians, I told you witch. That's what a witch is. 5:20. So we already knew that this United States of America, what you call it, the foundation of it was not only through the founding fathers, but also through brothels and whoredoms, quite literally. So they don't even call it kingdoms, those whoredoms. You see what I'm saying? So idolatry and witchcraft, hatred, discord, jealousy, fits of rage, selfish ambition, dissensions, factions. Okay, so that's all under judgment. And then we'll go to Surah 5:20. Surah 5:20. And remember when Moses said to his people, O my people, remember Allah's favors upon you when he raised prophets among you, made you sovereign, and gave you what he had never given anyone in the world. Okay? So he had never given anyone in the world what he had given you. Okay? So what is now has never been in the past. So they can't make it seem like things that are now come from the past. Okay, they come directly from God. You see what I mean? So that they can't do that. Oh, my bad. That's actually another thing. It's Surah 2, 102, 102. That's actually really funny. Because I read that as Galanti. I read the Galatians 5:20 as Surah 5:20, but that's just how you know. That's how you know. See, God is good always. I can't make it up. Like literally, people try to trick me and shit like that. It doesn't work. Okay, it literally doesn't work. All right, God is good always. They instead followed the magic promoted by the devils during the reign of Solomon. Never did Solomon disbelieve, rather the devils disbelieved. You see what I'm saying? They taught magic to the people along with what had been revealed to the two angels Harut and Marut in Babylon. Okay, the two angels never taught anyone without saying, we are only a test for you, so do not abandon your faith, right? Your faith. Yet people learned magic that caused a rift, even between husband and wife. Although their magic could not harm anyone except by Allah's will, they learned what harmed them and did not benefit them, right? Although they already knew that whoever buys into magic would have no share in the hereafter. Miserable indeed was the price for which they sold their souls, if only they knew. You see what I mean? So that's another thing. No, they have no share in the hereafter. You see what I'm talking about now? This is what I mean by, what you call it? Them, they think that they have shares. You see what I'm talking about now? You see what I'm saying now? I'm an earth angel. When I tell you, okay? So they don't have any shares in the hereafter. They don't have any shares in the hereafter. They literally sold their souls for misery, right? And that's it. That's what those witches really did, right? You see what I'm saying now? There's nothing we can do about it, okay? It's when the hereafter is hereafter, they're the ones that will not will not be able to be there at the hereafter. You see what I mean? They won't be here after. They won't be here after because they don't have shares hereafter in the hereafter. That's it. Okay, I don't know why it's like so complicated for anybody else, because it's not that complicated for anybody else, because everybody else who has shares in the hereafter understands that they have shares in the hereafter. Only witches don't have shares in the hereafter because they sold their souls for misery. It's really that simple. It's really that simple. Okay, so Surah 20:69. Okay. So cast what is in your right hand, and it will swallow up what they've made. For what they have made is no more than a magic trick, and magicians can never succeed wherever they go. You see what I mean? So, yeah, we'll keep on going with that. So, 10 evil acts, 4 of speech, 3 of mind. Oh my gosh, hold on one second. Sorry, that looks really crazy. Hold on. Oh my gosh. I apologize. That looked really wild because it's like stuck in my nose. Okay. Next. All right. So we have 10 evil acts. 4 of speech. So it goes from 4 of speech to the 3 of mind, and from the 3 of mind to the 3 of body. So it's literally being dropped. It's being casted. Okay. So lying or false speech, divisive and malicious speech, harsh or abusive speech, idle and frivolous speech. Then we go to 3 of mind. Yes, love. So the 3 evil acts of the mind, basically greed or covetousness, right? The desire to have what belongs to others, an unquenchable thirst for more, which leads to dissatisfaction and the lack of contentment. This poison is countered with generosity and contentment. Okay, so yeah, so that's me being generous right now, right? So hatred or ill will, the desire to cause harm or wish misfortune upon others, whether through anger, resentment, or aversion. This includes hostility towards people, circumstances you find unpleasant, right? And circumstances you find unpleasant. So, okay, it is countered with loving kindness and compassion, all right? So delusion or wrong views, there you go. So a fundamental ignorance of the true nature of reality leading to distorted perceptions and confusion. It is a mistaken belief that in a permanent, right? So this is where I talked about people believing in like permanent reality. Look, this is what I said. I talked about people trying permanence because they feared permanency, but then it didn't make sense to do so because there's nothing that could be permanent, especially if God hasn't made it permanent. He hasn't made it, you know what I mean? It is what it is. So it's like they're trying to worship what isn't permanent because they fear permanence. You see what I mean? And it's like, yeah, separate self and a failure to understand the interconnected and impermanent nature of all things. You see, instead of understanding, they want to worship. You see what I mean? And then they wanted to, instead of understanding the nature of all things, they wanted to worship in the nature of all things. Ugh, I don't know how to explain this correctly without them trying to disrupt me all the time. So instead of understanding the interconnected and impermanent nature of things, they wanted to worship the interconnected and impermanence of all things. But they also wanted to deceive about permanence. It's a lot of confusion, right? It is counted with wisdom and right understanding. You see what I'm saying? Right understanding. Okay. So basically, they were in that prostitute energy. So they were trying to distort people about being a witch. Looks like Mitch. They were trying to distort people about being a witch so then they could normalize their prostitution energy. Okay, abuse of reproductive organs for cash, prices reproductive structure. Okay, and now we can go on to that. Okay, so it's Deuteronomy 23, 17 through 18. So no Israelite man or woman is to become a shrine prostitute. You must not bring the earnings of a female prostitute or a male prostitute into the house of the Lord your God to pay any vow, because the Lord your God detests them both. Okay? And then we have 1 Corinthians 6, 15 through 16. Okay, do you not know that your bodies are members of Christ himself? Shall I then take your members of Christ and unite them with the prostitute? Never. Do you not know that he who unites himself with a prostitute is one with her in body? For it is said, the two will become one flesh. You see, so I talked about unification in the last reading and unity in the last reading, and that's why I mentioned that they failed to be in unity. Why? Because God will not allow, he will not allow for the body of Christ to become one with a prostitute. How it's going to work, right? It's just not going to work that way. He refuses to, literally. I don't know what you guys want from me. It's literally his order. So Surah 24:33 Surah An-Nur. Okay, and let not those who do not have the means to marry keep themselves chaste until Allah enriches them out of his bounty. And that's where I mentioned my chastity and I was being chaste and all that, right? And how they were trying to fuck with my chastity, utilizing like all sorts of crazy ass tactics, like actual crazy ass tactics. And if any of those bonds people in your possession desire to contract to buy their own freedom, make it possible for them if you find goodness in them, okay? And give them some of Allah's wealth, which He has granted you. Do not force your slave girls into prostitution. You see what I'm saying now? For your own worldly gains while they wish to remain chaste. And if someone coerces them, then after such coercion, Allah is certainly all forgiving, most merciful to them. So that I have done wholeheartedly, right? But then the reality of the situation was that those slave girls, the specific person who's the witch, right? The witch that was caught, right? The witch that was caught that ended up being under bondship, Fuchsia, no, under bondship of me. So she owes me, right? She owes me, so she's become a slave to the karma that she owes, that she's indebted to pay me, right? And I've been merciful to her. Like I've given her, you know what I mean, chance and chance after chance and chance after energy, you know what I mean? And as she refuses to stop trying, but she refuses to not be a prostitute. She wants to be a prostitute. You know what I mean? Even though she owes me and she owes the collective, right? It's that energy. So those people, they owe the collective, and then they still think that they can do something like that, and that's it, because they thought that being a prostitute would give them some sort of ability to, yeah, it's in reverse, to plant small pieces of information to grow into rumors or panic. Well, it's not working anymore. Okay, so that's being returned back to sender, and they're being thrown into the depths. Okay, that's what's going on. Okay, wait, I didn't finish reading it. What was it again? It was third body evil. I remember. Yeah, so 10 evil acts, third body evil. Okay? So it was 4 of speech, and 3 of mind, and now it's third body evil, and they didn't want to accept it. Okay? So 10 evil acts. So that's what it is that they wanted to do, right? Killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, frivolous speech, covetousness, hatred, wrong views, okay? So wrong views, heavy on the wrong views. So, yeah, the 10 evil acts. So they're committing to, yeah, third evil in the Buddhist, third body evil. Yeah. My bad. I don't know why it's giving me. Okay, there it is. Third body evil is an action or behavior performed by the body that is morally wrong, specifically sexual misconduct or lustful sexual behavior. Okay, so that's really what it is. So third body evil, right? 3 body evils, right? So you have sexual misconduct, which is the third body evil, which is what they were trying to cause into the market. We're going to find out what market that they were trying to cause the third body evil into. Yeah, they were trying to. I think it's this one. I'll keep this one aside. Yeah, it's something they failed, right? That's how they wanted to elevate the pressure. So that's what it is. There it is. They wanted to elevate the pressure of a specific market so that they could pretend to be in a different market. Yeah, that's what it is. So I think that really is what it is. Thank you, Holy Spirit, Heavenly Father. So a deregulated market. They were trying to commit a third-party evil within the deregulated market. So pressure for adaptation within regulations are when regulations are removed. Okay, so regulations, specific regulations within a circumstance and situation. So we're going to find out what regulations were removed. Okay, and they were trying to, yeah, what regulations were removed. So the 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 regulation when it comes to assignment. Okay, so basically regulation when it comes to assignment. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Theoretical academic assignment. Okay, taken away to explore the effects on the market. Here it is. So, price ceiling. Okay, so rent control, right? Maximum price. So maximum price, minimum price. So price ceilings, price floors. Okay, licenses, permits, quotas, limiting who can enter the market. Okay, removing this. Okay, yeah, that's basically it. Support to certain industries, subsidies, tariffs. um what'd you call it, standards, regulations that mandate product standards, labeling, safety. Okay, um and laws restricting mergers or monopolistic practices, pollution limits, labor laws, sustainability requirements. Okay, yeah, so let's see. So so you have rent control, caps on essential goods, interest rate and ceilings, utility rate caps, tuition caps. Okay, so you have minimum wage, agriculture price supports, alcohol and tobacco minimum prices, import price floors, fair or shipping minimums. Okay, rule of thumb, the ceiling too low, shortage, floor too high, surplus. Okay, so let's make it easier. Let's explain it in terms of what'd you call it, in these terms. Okay, so free market price adjustments. So adjustments of prices when it comes to how expensive things can be and how cheap they can be. Okay, so how cheap and how expensive something can really be. So yeah. Um the licenses, permits, and quotas that limit. So limitations when it comes to agreements that could allow for entry and or exit. So like for example, if you sign a contract and you want to break that contract, if there's no regulation or no limit to how many times you can break the contract, where you can go to break the contract, how much you have to pay to break the contract, or if there is even any price to break a contract or even anything like that, right? If all those regulations are removed, right? So that's another thing. So government support for certain industries, subsidies or import taxes, which would be tariffs. So basically the removal of tariffs, and or the removal of subsidies, whether it be there be tariffs or and subsidies. Okay, so that's like all it is. So yeah. So basically that's would be a deregulated market, right? So a market that isn't regulated. Now you understand a little bit more. So it's like if the market isn't regulated within a circumstance and situation, right? The challenge and the pressure of the challenge would be to adapt when the regulations are removed. So like when it's removed, everyone is in. It's like an all-in free for all, right? It's like no, you could put in. It's like a betting scenario, right? You can put a $5 down deposit, but somebody else can come in and put a 50 down deposit, right? So then the prices could change. You know what I mean? So like now you're betting for a deposit range, which then wouldn't have anything to do. So like now somebody put in like a $500 deposit, right? But then the price for the price for whatever they put the deposit down for could change at any moment, right? So now let's say they can't afford the price, but then someone who put in the $5 deposit could afford the price. So now, you know what I mean? So now, but they're not already part of that market anymore. So now they've already moved on to a different market. So now there's a loss. You see what I mean? So that's why it's so deregulated. So in that type of arena, right? That's why it's an arena. In that kind of arena where it's a free for all, right? They decided to try and be a prostitute instead of trying to have the courage to innovate responsibly and grow. So they also wanted to project that same energy to cause people into that energy. So there are consequences, right? So if someone feels as if that someone owes them some sort of bonding, right? So like let's say now, for example, for me, somebody wanted to turn me into a prostitute because they thought that I was their slave, because they thought I was indebted to them for some whatever reason, right? So let's say, so what happens in the Quran if someone disobeys God's order not to turn a slave into a prostitute? So, justly and humanely sponsifies sexual relations are permitted with spouses or concubines, lawfully allowed. Turning is strictly forbidden. Okay, so general principle, disobedience consequences. So, chaste is committing a sin and transgression, and the person who is maintaining chastity is rewarded and protected by God. Okay, so basically, yeah. So they're gonna deal with they're gonna have to deal with the person who tried to do that to me, even if I wasn't their slave at the end of the day. You know what I mean? What'd you call it? Plus the additional confusion about them thinking that I'm their slave. Like they're gonna pay for that. Like they're gonna pay heavily for that, like multiple times. So now the deregulated market is ascending, right? So there's gonna be pressure for adapting to pressure for adapting when regulations are removed. So now there are going to be plenty of regulations that are going to be removed in order to allow for a free market range, but it's going to cause a deregulated market. So the whole thing is to have a courage in a situation, to be courageous within a situation. So for example, now the gallantry that I was talking about earlier um is being rewarded with growth. So there's growth within the situation. So the growth is what it is that they want to stifle. Okay, the growth is what it is that they're trying to stifle right now. So they're trying to attack growth, right? But the core of all of it is being protected. Okay, so what weapon are they trying to use to attack the growth, right? That's what it is, because we already know who they are and what they are, right? So, oh my gosh, bro. All right, hold on one second. Yeah, they're trying. So what is that? What is that weapon? Okay, so trapdoor keeper persona. We already saw that earlier. Okay. So fire keeper persona, remember it came out earlier, it went back to sender already. Sower of discord, that's what they're trying to employ. Okay, attempts to contort circumstances to falsify judgment, indecisive and confused, that's them. Trapdoor keeper persona thinks that they have the power to drop someone from security to ruin. So they're trying to sow discord. Remember, they were trying to sow something, so they were trying to sow discord in order to make it seem as if that they had the power to drop someone from security. I feel like it's someone that wants so badly to look like a mafia boss, man. It's so annoying. Okay, so let's look up these things because it'll be easier. So Proverbs 6:19. So So there are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 things that are detestable to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked schemes, feet that are quick to rush into evil, a false witness who pours out lies, and a person who stirs up conflicts in the community. Okay? So they're like, I don't know why God is sending me all the things that he hates to me. Like I feel like all the things that he really doesn't like. So like God is showing me that he is capable of hate is what I'm saying. I'm seeing. And that hate isn't something that is kept in the heart, trapdoor keeper persona. Yeah, hate isn't something that is kept in the heart. This is the lesson. So where is hate kept? Because is it in the mind? Right? Sort of Discord or in the community or in script? I'll find out. I'll find out because there are much things that must be detestable to me in order for me to overcome. Right? Warn a divisive person once and then warn them a second time. That's what I did, yeah. After that, have nothing to do with them. You may be sure that such people are warped and sinful. They are self-condemned. Yeah, so they're self-condemned. Okay, so that's what it is. Warped and sinful, self-condemned. All right. They're warped, yeah, yeah. Okay. So Suram 191. Y'all, this one straight up says, kill them whenever you come upon them and drive them out of places from which they have driven you out. And that it's just it straight up says, kill them wherever you come upon them and drive them out of places from which they have driven you out. Right? For prosecution is far worse than killing. And do not wait. I just remembered it's Monday. Oh, I have somewhere to go actually. I just remembered. And do not fight them at the sacred mosque unless they attack you there. If they do, then fight them. That is the reward of the believers. Yeah. It straight up says kill them. It straight up says kill them. Kill them wherever you come upon them and drive them out of places from which they have driven you out of. Yo. No problem. I know exactly what to do. Okay. So let's do Manusmriti. For 30. So he shall not honor, even with speech, impostors, those who follow improper occupations, those who are cat-like in their behavior, hypocrites, logicians, and those who behave like herons. Ooh, it's getting deep. 10 evil acts. 4 of speech, yeah. So we have what'd you call it? Yeah. The 4 evil acts of speech are okay, so we have lying, divisive speech, harsh speech, and idle chatter. So yeah, that's their asses. They can't do what it is that they're trying to do anymore. It's all returning back to sender. So one thing is coming out, boaster. Yeah, the demonic entity is like mad as hell now. Yeah, it's mad as hell now. Yeah. Because it can't do what it has to do. It has to die where it stands. Yeah, it's over. It's over. So, when it comes to protection, growth, and advantage and everything like that, Holy Spirit, Heavenly Father, what's the message? Let's see if it's out. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so they're trying to yeah, there it is, Nine of Swords. That's their energy, Nine of Swords. And then there's the King of Pentacles energy. So let's see what is up around the Nine of Swords energy. Okay, why, like, how it's cloaking itself. Yeah, it's trying to cloak itself in the energy that has just been like that already finished. So like in the last reading I mentioned the alignment, right? So it's trying to cloak itself in the challenge of the alignment. It's trying to cloak itself there. We already knew that. Yeah, but it's trapped now. Yeah, and there's the Three of Swords. So, yeah, I remembered something just now. Yeah, I remembered something just now. But why did it not happen the way that I thought it was going to happen? Yeah, why did it not happen the way that I thought it was going to happen? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, and that's why. There's something about the Hermit in reverse energy that keeps on attacking the King of Pentacles. So it's a false extrovert. That's the boaster, prostitute energy, okay? What market are they coming from? So what market are they coming from? Because they were trying to cross a bridge, right? So what market are they coming from? What market are they coming from, Holy Spirit? What market are they coming from? Ooh, there's so much confusion, y'all. Yeah, they're trying to control. Remember when I said the influence? They're trying to act like is under their influence. They're trying to act like a witch. They're trying to witch it themselves. Like, yeah, they've already ruined a lot. So, like, there's nothing that we could do about what they've done already other than, heal and stuff. So we're gonna like instead stop them in their tracks. So let's keep going. There it is. So the market that they came from, they were trying to deregulated market. There it is. So they failed to adapt to when the regulations were removed. So that's in the past. We talked about what's in the past is not now. So there's a new market that's going to happen when it approaches the deregulated one. They wanted to come into that new deregulated market, right? They wanted to come into a new deregulated market through the market that we are in right now, from a deregulated market that they've already destroyed once. Okay, so like I said, the deregulated market is ascending, so then it's going to be restored and renewed and all that stuff, right? But yeah, there it is, boaster. They keep on trying to boast, but they failed. Yeah, they failed. There it is. So the market that they are trying to enter, or no, the market they're trying to seem like they came from is the emerging market. So they're trying to make it seem like they're a new emerging something, right? So they act like they are pioneer for beneficial offerings or something like that, but they haven't overcome any kind of, what'd you call it? They haven't overcome any kind of, there wasn't any new opportunity to be tapped into, basically. There wasn't a new opportunity to be tapped into, so they didn't have the provisions, they didn't have the right legal parameters to conduct some sort of business, right? They didn't have within an unseen market. Yeah, they didn't have that, right? So now they're getting caught with the silent knife persona, destroys quietly without warning or visible evidence. So they wanted to build on top of that, basically, where they've destroyed what they've destroyed, okay? Because they refuse to overcome the pressure for managing supply. So there was an oversupplied market. There was an oversupplied market where there was a later on a deregulated market, but they destroyed the oversupplied market, right? Because they refused to manage supply correctly, right? So they couldn't temper excess because they had no wisdom to temper excess, and they no longer could have preserved value. So instead of, you know what I mean, healing that or doing whatever they had to do, they instead tried to build on top of a destroyed, oversupplied market. that, and then they attempted, I guess, to steal a deregulated market away from a future income, right? In order to now boast about fornication, rape. That's where I said not rape, right? So now the oversupplied market is being brought into enlightenment, right? So the oversupplied market was never really killed because that's not how it works. But it was shadowed. It was overshadowed by the deregulated market, right? So the oversupplied market was overshadowed by the deregulated market, and now the light is being brought into the horizon of the situation, right? So there was a lot of other cards here, but yeah, that's the, so what weapon were they using to shadow? So what was it that they were trying to use to shadow? What was the shadow element? What was the shadow aspect? The shadow aspect was the shadow aspect of the Hermit in reverse. It's also Pisces in reverse energy. So we can do, and we can do this. So the Hermit in reverse: loneliness, paranoia, isolation, reclusiveness, withdrawal, antisocial, and restrictive. So they were projecting all of that at Kingdom. They were projecting all of that at King of Pentacles energy, at companies, accompaniments, and all sorts of things. Accompaniments. That's what it is. Accompaniments. Like accessories. Yeah, exactly. Accompaniments. So let's see examples of accompaniments. Or in fact, let's just do this right away. Instead of examples, we'll do so one who breaks bread with another, a companion. Company, escort, something that goes along with, something that goes with or complements something else, especially in music or food. Something that complements. So like, let's say like color, flavors, anything that complements, right? Something that goes along with or enhancing is another thing. So they wanted to pretend to be a distributor of some sort of enhancement. Yeah, they wanted to pretend to be some sort of distributor of an enhancement or something like that. Yeah, it's not working out anymore. Yeah, they wanted to act as if that they were trying to scam people, actually. They were trying to scam people in order to act as an enhancement. Yeah, that's what's going on. They wanted to scam people and wanted to act as if that they, what'd you call it? Enhance. Yeah, that's what it is. And yeah. There it is. So that's what it is right there. So there's the Queen of Cups, Ace of Pentacles, then the Queen of Wands, Queen of Pentacles, which makes sense, right? The Queen of Wands transforms into the Queen of Pentacles. The Ace of Pentacles transforms into the Queen of Pentacles. That makes a lot of sense. But right in the middle is Three of Swords with the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, which would be like a, like slander, like absolute slander, right? So they wanted to cover up their slander as if it were an accompaniment, like as if it were a compliment, right? We already knew that. That's like a thing. They wanted to act like it was an enhancing aspect of self, something that they do to make it seem like they're flattering, but it's actually slandering, and they can't do that anymore. Yeah, they can't do that anymore. Yeah, sun in reverse. Yeah, there's no wisdom because it's like they're being seen as someone with no wisdom to be able to overcome the pressure, the challenge of like development. Like they can't they're underdeveloped kind of energy. Yeah, they're being seen as underdeveloped. Yeah, that's what it is. They're being seen as underdeveloped. Yeah, and they were projecting like, oh my gosh, so much negativity. They were projecting so much like negativity at the King of Pentacles energy. So it's like, let's the King of Pentacles energy is literally like literally, yeah, exactly. So if you wanted to know that I could be like you could be the king of, you could be a woman and still be the King of Pentacles, especially if you own your own company, right? So like that's why the Queen of Cups transforms into the Queen of Wands when she is in her right, in her right when it comes to her company, right? So that's why it's there like that. So when I said the King of Pentacles it came out as the Queen of Wands. That's the thing. So they wanted to literally project like their issues at the, like, it's like a lot of that. So they're being seen as underdeveloped. So it's like they're being seen as underdeveloped. Yeah, they're being seen as underdeveloped. That's why the Three of Wands was in reverse. They're being seen as highly underdeveloped. There's something about that real bad. Yeah. Queen of Swords in reverse. They keep on trying to. So that's what it is. It's like they keep on trying to project. It's like somebody is like a prostitute trying to call somebody else a prostitute, or like a drug addict trying to call somebody else a drug addict. It's like it doesn't work because it's like we know that that's them. Yeah, Archangel Michael is stopping that whole situation. It's like they kept on trying to accuse other people of what they are. Like that's what I mentioned. That's why we started this reading as. Yeah, Hierophant is seeing this now. Like it's like a lot of it is like, yeah, like yeah, like a lot of, yeah, exactly. They're trying to make it seem like it's some sort of like challenge, but it's a challenge to the devil. Yeah, the devil is being like destroyed in a situation. Yeah, cycle complete. That's it. They wanted to make it seem as if that there was, yeah, exactly. They wanted to they wanted to like whatever past that they have, they wanted to like mix it up with somebody else's past. That's what it is. They wanted to mix their past with somebody else's past. They wanted to mix up their past experiences as if it were somebody else's past experiences when it wasn't. Yeah, exactly. Five of Pentacles. They're being seen as like malicious within like Bethlehem energy, like malicious within poverty. Like whenever poverty arises, they become extremely malicious. Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. And now their strength, the strength is being like absolved of sin, basically. Yeah. And no one, they're not being shared with anymore. They fail to rise to the Six of Pentacles energy. You see what I mean? They fail to be generous when it comes to some sort of glory because they never had any glory. Yeah. They failed to be generous when it comes to glory, and so they were stealing. You see what I mean? That's what they were trying to do. They were stealing, and they're being seen as a thief. Yeah, they were stealing and being seen as a thief, and now, yeah, and now resuming. So they didn't want people to resume. Yeah, they didn't want people to be to resume. Like they wanted to halt everybody else's tasks and not resume. Like they wanted people to be blocked from resuming. To sum up, summarize, to continue or begin again. Exactly. To continue or proceed, to take upon again, recommence. That's the word. Yeah, to begin, initiate, you see, to start something again. It's essentially, yeah, they didn't want people to recommence. They kept on projecting their own instability so people wouldn't recommence, literally. And now, yeah, and now the karma is coming directly to them. Yeah, the karma is going directly to them. They're being directly, yeah, exactly. Because it's like they wanted to take upon the energy of people who were recommencing in their task, despite them, and cover up their hopelessness in the situation to act as if that they weren't miserable as they are, and as if that they hadn't sold their souls for misery. Exactly. And now the angels are abandoning those individuals, energies, and people who did all that shit. Like, literally, the angels are abandoning them. We're abandoning them. We're moving on. Yeah, exactly. That's what it is that they didn't want to. They were trying to hide as a secret, as if they wanted to employ the devil to hide it as a secret. I like, this is so funny. Yeah, like, look, the devil is coming up in reverse, right? The battle of it all is cycle complete, right? They wanted to hide the fact that they were, yeah, they wanted to hide the fact that they were abandoned by the angels, kind of energy. That's basically it. Yeah, that's basically it. And they were trying to use other people's, like, bodies to do so. Yeah. Okay, that's it. I'm putting that up right. All righty then. I think that's it for this reading. Yeah, I think that's it for this reading. Moving on. Okay, bye.